Hello and welcome to Ready Bet Action, your one-stop shop for all things sports betting. We are here on a Friday afternoon with our guest Colby Dant from the College Football Experience and the Sports Gambling Podcast. Colby, how the hell are you doing, man? It's good to have you on the show.
No, thanks for having me on the show, guys. And I'm doing fantastic. Anytime it's football season, we could just, what are we in the middle of, like 49 straight days of football?
49.
I mean, something crazy like that. So, not a better time to be alive, right? Let's go.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we've even had we had what absolute shit teams playing the last couple nights, but like Tuesday night's football was fucking great, man, with like Coastal and Appalachian State. Like that was just I don't think those picks went my way, but the games themselves, like having good football on a Tuesday was fun to watch.
Yeah, I struggled a little bit on the picks, like on the App State Coastal game. I thought for sure App would win, but those games are awesome. And I've been saying this, man. I feel like I've been saying this for like 20 years of like college football should load. There's if you add in the FCS, you're like, man, there's over 260 Division I football programs. Why are they not spreading it out over? Okay, give NFL to stay in Monday, but like Tuesday through Saturday should have like 5, 6, 7 games every single day at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be like bowl season throughout the year. I mean, they are student athletes though, Colby. Come on, when are they going to study if they're playing all these games?
Hey, they're getting paid now. I don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? They're getting paid now.
Oh,
did I hear right that Coach Prime is pissed? I think I saw him mention that like they're playing on a Friday night, like he doesn't like that's not good enough for him, kind of a thing. Like
I saw that mentioned too. Yeah, I still want to see the video of him saying that out of his mouth because like I don't know why. Why wouldn't you're on a nationally televised spot? What?
You're
nothing else going on.
Like every bar, every person who's at a sports bar tonight out with their friends is going to be watching your game. So I don't understand what that comment is. I'll have to go dig into it more. Sorry, Stefan. I keep jumping in on you. Let's do this.
Well, why don't we go ahead and get into some of our plays? Colby, as our guest, why don't you lead us off with either your favorite game that you have a play on or your favorite pick of the week? Yeah, whichever way you want to go.
I'll start things off where I'm a big fan of the Oregon State play in Corvallis. There's so many elements I like about this. Okay, so Dante Moore is going to be a very good quarterback for UCLA, but he's just a freshman. He's a 5-star. He's thrown 2 pick sixes the last 2 times UCLA stepped on a football field, and it cost them at Utah. Utah won 14-7. That was the deciding score, even though it was really 14-0 majority of the game. But Utah is one dimensional right now when they don't have Cam Rising. Right, they're going back and forth between their 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks. They're just one dimensional, and Washington State, as good as they are, they're pretty one dimensional with Ben Arbuckle's offense, where they just throw the ball 70 times a game. So they were able to put together a great defensive game plan for Wazoo, and they were the more physical football team. They deserved to beat Wazoo in the Rose Bowl. That's not the case with Oregon State. Oregon State, a lot of people think Utah had the best defense last year in the Pac-12. It was actually Oregon State. Oregon State is a physical football team. They're much more like Utah, and if anything, with Cam Rising's injury and the fact that Oregon State beat down Utah when they came to Corvallis, I just think they're a much more complete team. They can beat you with both running backs, Fenwick and Damian Martinez. And whether it's Aiden Childs or whether it's DJU, they have multiple quarterbacks that can slice you up. Their passing game with Bolden. They're just a much more complete football team. And then the strength of the defense is the run defense. The weakness is the pass defense. Why is that important? Because Dante Moore has struggled to pass the ball, and UCLA's blueprint to winning any of these games has been Carson Steele, their run game. I think the run game will get bottled up, and I think they're going to force Dante Moore to pass, which leads to more turnovers. This is only his second road game? Well, no, third, but one of them was San Diego State. That doesn't count. So, so this is like his real second road game, and then also you add in the fact that Oregon State. Not only do they have an awesome fan, I think they're from a measurement standpoint the closest fan section to the field in all of college football.
That's a great stat.
Yeah. So you add that in, and then who was the teams that really caused the avalanche and the demise of the Pac-12? It was UCLA and USC. So. Yep. I love the chip on the shoulder angle. Jonathan Smith, I guarantee you they don't play USC this year. So to me, there's been one game circled for all 12 months, and I think it's UCLA. I love laying the points with the Beavers.
Yeah. So you think that these players really get into this conference realignment stuff then? Because I've had, I wouldn't say I have, I don't know if I have doubts. I just don't really, I don't know how much these players are like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to transfer to a Power 5 school anyways if we don't land somewhere. If it matters that much to them. Like, because I think Washington State's using that as motivation this year, but you're definitely leaning that, like, even the players are saying, like, hey, we deserve to be in this conversation, and we're pissed that we're not.
I definitely think so. Like I think now, yeah, they could transfer out, but what if they've already used their transfer? We've seen the NCAA crack down on these, and then you add in the fact that, like, you know, you're basically being told that you're not. So even if that you're not good enough to make it to the Big 12 or the Big 10 or wherever, and to me, if I'm any of their position coaches, I'm saying, hey, guess what? They didn't think you're good enough. Right?
Yeah.
They didn't think you're good enough. Yep. So to me, you're going to be hearing it, whether you believe into it or not. I think you're eventually going to believe into it, but you know, with your coaches and the people that you have to listen to around the university. So, and from a fan standpoint of me, that's me highlighting how lit I think it's going to be. You know, yeah. I know some Beef fans personally that have said, hey, big you know, deal. we don't have USC on the schedule, so everyone's going to that UCLA game. So I do think it will be a big deal.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Well, go ahead, Stefan.
Oh, I would just say I have a play on this game as well. And Colby, you were talking about how good Oregon State's defense is. You've been talking about how you feel UCLA could really struggle moving the ball, and part of that is because of this Oregon State defensive line. However, I also think UCLA, they have an absolutely incredible defense as well. They rank 6th in front 7 havoc and 9th in stuff rate. So my play here is because I think you're reading the game spot on. I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think both teams are going to try to play the possession game, not make too many mistakes. You've got a freshman quarterback on the road, or you've got DJU. I mean, DJU, when he's not going against cupcakes, he can struggle. So I think they're going to try to play it safe, lean on Damian Martinez. And because of that, I'm on the under 54. I think UCLA's defense is one of the biggest kept secrets, I think, in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I know all of us know that UCLA has a great defense, but not everyone does. So I'm just going to play the under on this one. I could see UCLA, I could see this one getting really close, and I just want to be on the not very many points being scored in this one. Not your typical Chip Kelly offense right now with a new quarterback.
Well, Stefan, I mean, folks, I don't know if you're watching this on video form. He's wearing an Oregon Duck sweatshirt. So nice way to not take Oregon State, but still take Oregon State.
Exactly. You're on to me.
It's very nice. I love it. Now we're talking defenses. This makes a lot of sense. This under to me, but we're talking about teams that aren't very deserving or aren't good enough. Let's switch over and talk about the Colorado State Rams. So I am a bit of a hater. I have to admit. So I always just like to throw out my biases here. It does suck, in fact, to be a CSU Ram. So this is actually a shout out to my older brother, Sean. I promise that the rest of my picks will have even more logic and data behind them. My brother is a CSU alum. We grew up in Fort Collins. His annual favorite pick is when CSU keeps the game close. And we're talking like 6-7 years running at this point. CSU keeps the game close at halftime, and then Boise State just clown hammers the shit out of them in the second half. So this is my family pick. It's a bit of a homer pick, but this one's for you, Sean. I'm not giving a lot of data and points on this. I just wanted to get the bias out of the way. That's my reasoning. And
I love it.
We'll get into more data and other picks, but that's that's what I'm doing today. So
no, but I also think this makes sense. I mean, look, they were up 17-0 on Utah State. And they end up giving, I think, like 34 unanswered or something. And then the same when they played the Buffs, they were up looking like the better team for a lot of that game. And then the Buffs came roaring back. And then you add in the fact that Boise's never lost to CSU. Love it.
Yeah, that I mean, they are. I compare them. They're CU's USC. Like they haven't won like ever. And Boise just comes in and CSU gets up for it like they do for a CU game. And then eventually talent and coaching take over. And CSU is just still bad. They're just still bad. And it's going to take a lot more to turn that program around. So, all right. Where are we at? Colby, why don't you give us another one? I think we want to talk about some Notre Dame USC.
Yeah. Look, I love this play. And I know this seems kind of chalky. I don't think I normally would do this, but I just like the spot. I like the spot for Notre Dame to beat USC even as a favorite. I think the line is telling you so. I think if you were to ask people a week ago what that line would be, I think you would say USC would be favored, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, for sure.
Surprisingly, Notre Dame's a 2.5 point favorite, and they just came off a beat down to Louisville on the road. And people saying, "Oh, it's been tough. They've played 3 tough opponents: Ohio State, and then Duke, and then Louisville." Look, their season probably is cooked as far as making the playoff because they can't play a championship game because they're not in a conference. Self-imposed, if you ask me. But what can happen here is Sam Hartman can win over the Notre Dame fans, and I think this is a great blueprint for them to pull the upset against USC. Caleb Williams, they've been living on the edge for quite a while, right?
Oh
and
God,
I understand the other side of this argument is he gets up for big games. Maybe so, but they're calling for rain. I live in Los Angeles. I drive when there's just a little bit of sprinkles. It's about the worst thing that can ever happen to you because you're driving and you're just like, how can this many people be this bad at driving in a little bit of rain, right? So I think that's a disaster situation. It never rains here. And, I think that favors Notre Dame. I also think the fact that it's going to be colder too, you mix that in with an awesome run game that, whether it's Estime, whether they have to move Tyree back, I think they can control the tone of the game. I think that's the most important. I know we could just rattle off great players for each team. I think the most important thing that Notre Dame must do is control the pace of the game. And I think that is the blueprint to beating USC. You go back and look at the Utah wins a year ago, not necessarily the Tulane one, but the Utah win. I think it's controlling the pace of the game and the tone of the game. And I think that's what they will do. So I like laying the 2.5 with Notre Dame, and I think they get a dub.
Yeah, I really like that. We did pick USC on our futures show before the season under 9.5 wins, and this will be the start, I think, of them ending the year pretty rough and probably leaving the season with 3 losses is looking pretty doable to me. If you look at all the this is by far the best defense they've played. And Arizona came out and punched them in the mouth last week and all that stuff, and they scraped it out. But they have not seen a team like this. And I was at the Colorado USC game, and they let Colorado back into that game. They couldn't put them down like Oregon could. And we are Caleb Williams fangirls on this show. We
Absolutely.
loved him, but I just don't think they have played a defense like this that might be able to contain them a little more. And all it's going to take is for that running game, like you said, to take over. Steve, any thoughts?
I mean, I took the bait early in the week because I also was expecting USC to be favored. So on Tuesday, I saw the line and I grabbed USC money line, but I didn't make it a show bet for a reason because as the week's gone on, I feel less and less confident. I'm more in the position of I don't want to be betting against Caleb Williams because it's just a scary place to be. But they haven't looked right all year, and at some point, I think it is going to catch up with them. And I think against more talented defenses, you can't overcome quite as much when you are just not stopping anyone. So I like that play a lot. I want to jump over to another big game. I don't have a side on this game, so I'll be curious to hear y'all. But on that Tennessee Florida game, I want to go ahead and take the under yet again. I think a lot of people
A&M is Tennessee.
A&M Tennessee, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Sorry. A&M at Tennessee. I think I was too busy sitting here thinking about Tennessee. I had their havoc rates pulled up here, and it was talking about the Florida game when they just destroyed them. But what I want to talk about is when people think about Tennessee, they think about last year with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and just this crazy offense that's pushing the ball all the way down the field. But this Tennessee team is so much different. It's really based around their defensive line. Their defensive line has been absolutely incredible. They rank 3rd in success rate and 4th in sack rate. Jesus Christ, I'm struggling. So I think they really get to Max Johnson. My biggest concern with this under hitting is if Max Johnson turns the ball over too much and gives Tennessee some short fields. But honestly, I think with Max Johnson at quarterback for the Aggies. I think they're going to try to play it more conservative as well. And I just think this under hits pretty easy. So I'm going to go ahead and just roll with this one. If I had to take a side, I'd be leaning Tennessee in this one, though, just for a lot of the reasons I said. And I'm just afraid Max Johnson is not going to be able to push the ball to Evan Stewart and Moose Muhammad and stuff like that. So I think it's a long day for the Aggies.
You know what I like about that play is I feel like a lot of the public is going to be on the over, because A&M's pass defense has been bad. Tennessee, Josh Heupel, high octane offense over the years wherever he's been. So I do kind of like that angle, especially knowing Joe Milton's inconsistencies. So I mean, I lean Tennessee too, as far as the actual spread, but yeah, I do think maybe the under. I can see a game where that potentially happens. It's another thing is you have the record of teams playing Bama back-to-back weeks, or
right,
the game after Bama is normally a terrible one for offenses. So you have that in your favor as well.
Yeah,
that's that is great. A bet against Jimbo Fisher is one I always enjoy.
It's always endorsed
or something. It's always endorsed. I'm always a big fan of it. What an overrated dude. Cool. Well, I'm going to actually go back and keep us in the Mountain West. This is actually a pick that both Colby and I like. I will let you kick it off, Colby, though, with why you like Wyoming plus 11.5 versus Air Force.
The line makes no sense to me because Wyoming has won 6 of 9 against Air Force, including last season. And they elevation, where sometimes that matters. It's not going to matter for Wyoming because they play at the highest elevation in the FBS. So then you add in the fact that Craig Bull, Wyoming's head coach, played defensive back for Tom Osborne and that old wishbone offense. I
like that.
So if there's anyone that's familiar with this thing, and you can see by his results, and then you add in also the fact that Air Force has yet to beat a team with a winning record. And I like Air Force. I
was just about to bring up that point. If you look at the teams that both these teams have played, Wyoming's competition level has been far higher. I think that primes them for this game. And what are we doing? Like 11.5. It's like, we understand that Wyoming plays these guys every year and knows how, whether they actually go out and pull it off is another question, but like they know how to game plan against Air Force. And like Air Force looks great this year. It wouldn't surprise me if they win, but like how either of these teams would be a double-digit favor over the other. Like, honestly, for me, if this was in Laramie and like the roles were reversed, it wouldn't matter. I would take whoever's plus 11.5 in this particular matchup. I just think the level of competition Wyoming's played has primed them for this. There's a lot of motivation there. Yeah, there's not really any like elevation, weather, like any of that stuff, man. It's going to be a tight game. I actually kind of like the over 41. I think people are used to both of these teams not scoring a lot. And they've actually both been scoring quite a bit this year. So I actually don't hate the over either if someone's more inclined to bet the totals. Stefan, anything for our service academy? It's like our weekly salute to service, doing a service academy game.
Well, we've been tailing Air Force for a while here. When you told me you're going to put this on, I did not realize I had not looked at this number and seen it with double digits. So I was like, wait, we're betting against Air Force this week? They've been awesome. But to your point, Wyoming's been really good too. I'm on board. I don't have a whole lot to say about it though. Colby, you have another play for us?
Yeah. And I will say the one thing that if I was to build a case of why you should take Air Force, it's only because Wyoming just beat Fresno, the reigning champs, on a nationally televised, Fox game. And you think there's a human element to the letdown spot. That's the only thing that I would say maybe, but no, I love Wyoming and the points there. For another pick, I'm going to take you to Fort Worth, Texas, where a year ago Chandler Morris got injured, the starting quarterback of TCU. He got injured against Eric and mine's Buffs, week 1. And they still haven't sent us a thank you for that because Max Duggan was their backup. And if you listen to my podcast over the past 4 or 5 years, we've been very high on Max Duggan, and we didn't understand why Chandler Morris was starting over Max Duggan. Well, Max Duggan's on the San Diego or the LA Chargers, they call him now. I think with him being injured, I'll be honest, if he was healthy, I think the line doesn't make sense. But with him being injured, BYU was the one team that I trust more than any team entering the brand new Big 12 because their schedule traditionally when they were independent was insane to me. Like I almost don't know why you'd want to coach there because it was that insane. So when I saw the new Big 12 schedules come out, I go, well, BYU actually their schedule gets easier, right? I actually believe that. And that's why I think BYU, I think they're better than TCU this year. So I think they're going to go into Fort Worth and get the win. And Chandler Morris is injured. I actually think I'd rather have him play in a way, but still, I just think BYU, I love what they did in the offseason. They hired Jay Hill as a defensive coordinator, former head coach of Weber State, had a lot of success there. He's a Kyle Whittingham guy. And I think BYU is a team that I still think, everyone is already saying Oklahoma, Texas, Big 12 championship, and I was making this case. Now West Virginia did lose on a Hail Mary last night, but I still think Dub V, BYU, Kansas might have something to say about that. So
that's disgusting. I love it.
Yeah. I like BYU to win in Fort Worth.
Kansas is going to win it all with Devin Neal playing a Wildcat quarterback with Jalen Daniels out. I'm here for it.
Oh my God, that sounds absolutely awesome and awful at the same time with why we love college football. If we're going to bring up student sections though, and stadium noise, look, I went to that CU-TCU game. I wish I would have brought a decibel reader to just prove how soft of a crowd that is. Like, and there were big moments in that game where like the crowd was, quote unquote loud. Me and my buddies could talk to each other just normal level. Like it is one of the quietest stadiums. Like, I don't know if it's the way it's structured or anything. Like it was not an intimidating home environment in any way. And I was going in as like,
what do you expect?
I know. I did. My most proud moment was yelling at them to release the frogs, cowards. That was my favorite. That was my favorite chant of the game.
Love it.
But no, it just wasn't an intimidating environment. It's not a place I was impressed by. Sorry, TCU fans. I don't think it's a huge home advantage necessarily. BYU fans will be there too. The Mormons are everywhere.
Chase Roberts has looked real good. Puka Nacua gone, of course. We loved him last year, but Chase Roberts and Epps have been pretty good for BYU. I could see them moving the football against this TCU team. This one wasn't on my radar, Colby, but it definitely is now. So thank you for that. that's a good one.
And I think last year, the clear cut thing when you watch BYU is the defensive side of the ball was a bit of a joke. Now they got really depleted with injuries, but I also thought when they hired Jay Hill, the guy I was talking about, he brought in a bunch of his Weber State guys on the defensive side of the ball, and they also brought in a few other guys from a couple power schools like Oklahoma State and stuff. That I think just that defense is light years better.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
You want to give one? Go for it, Eric.
I think I got one more. You gonna think of throwing another one in here?
I got one more too. I haven't given my big ACC play of the day yet.
Right.
Syracuse is traveling to Florida State.
There it is. Yep.
And the line is just too small. I like Syracuse. I think they're a fun team, but they are so banged up. They have so many injuries, and they have no wide receivers. And Garrett Schrader is just really struggling. He is forced to take on a lot of that offense, just running the ball. And that's pretty much all they have had success doing. And last week we saw what happened when they went up against a solid team. And I think Florida State is going to do the same thing to them. I think we see Trey Benson go off. I think, he's coming off a 200-yard game last week. I think while it's hard to replicate a 200-yard game, I think the Seminoles really do get the ball going downhill against the Syracuse defense. And I think they put it on fast and heavy, and it's going to be a rout. And so much so that the only thing that you'd be worried about is like a backdoor cover. I don't think we have to worry about that today. I was listening to the Cover 3 podcast, and Danny Cannell is one of their hosts, and he used to play for the Seminoles, and he was saying how this is like the national championship guys are all coming back for the weekend to watch the game and be there in the stadium with the recruits and all that kind of stuff. So I think they're looking to put on a show, and I'll buy into that narrative. So let's go. Seminoles minus 18.5.
I like that play. I mean, Syracuse doesn't have the depth that they need. Like they
did you hear Dino talking about that the other day?
I think I saw someone quoting saying like what he the portal took away his depth, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, he's like our depth's in the portal. It's like okay.
No,
yeah.
he's right.
Yeah.
I don't understand how their NIL collective is so bad. From what I understand, like this is a university that's
Basketball,
like number one
maybe?
in sport.
They spend it there.
No, but that's actually where I heard that they were bad. I heard like players dipped out because, and I don't understand it because you're the only show in town. Yeah. You got Bob Costas money. You got Mike Tirico money. You got all these former greats that have been there. I don't understand why it's so bad, but you make a great point, and I love laying the 18 too because Rondé Gadsden Jr. he's out for the year.
Yeah.
Their other Stephen Maher, the other beast tight end, out for the year, and then Pena, the wideout, he's out for this game. So there's no talent on the edge.
Right. I mean, I think am I wrong? You guys can call me. This is the biggest university athletic program in the whole state of New York, right? Like, is there someone else I'm missing? Like, why they wouldn't be like their alumni base is nuts. Like, they have so many like celebrity and like famous sports alumnus. Like, it's a great point.
Makes no sense. It's shocking to me. Yeah.
I like it. Even I was telling Stefan, I was like, one of my picks before we came in. I'm not going to put it here, but I actually like. You can get Florida State -9.5 just in the second half. And honestly, like, dude, just look at Syracuse. This is the gauntlet, man. Like Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State. I think by the second half, they're like, guys, look, as a fan of an underwhelming football team, like. They are just looking ahead, being like, "Can we just get to the rest of our season so we can like try to get this bowl game and stuff?" Like, This is brutal, man. Absolutely brutal gauntlet for them, and I think they're going to be pretty deflated by the second half. Depth, all the stuff you guys already talked about. So, cool. Well, I think I can wrap us up. We're going to stay in the ACC. I'm going to go ahead and take a team I just think is significantly better than the other one, which is Duke -3 versus NC State. I have not been impressed with NC State. I've gotten to watch a few of their full games. And honestly, it mostly comes down to just seeing how they've won these really close games against not good teams like Virginia, and just I think have kind of underwhelmed in games where they shouldn't have, where Duke has kind of done the opposite, which is go out and beat Clemson, go out and beat teams they should by the amount of points they're supposed to be beating them by. And I just like Duke to go ahead and take care of business against what's the Tobacco Road? Is that right? They're Tobacco Road, friends right there in Raleigh. Should be a good time. I bet that'll be a fun environment, though. I'm sure. But I think Duke's just the far better team here, and I don't think 3's enough. So.
Yeah, and they're coming off the bye. So first off, I thought this line would actually be NC State favored because of Riley Leonard. I don't think Riley Leonard, Duke's quarterback, is going to play. But this makes me like Duke even more is when Vegas is setting this at -3. I think everyone's going to be thinking, hey, rivalry game, we got to load up on NC State. Mike Elko, I think, is one of the most underrated coaches in America. I'm with you. I like laying the 3 with Duke. I think they get it done. This is a rivalry game, and they hadn't played it every year because of the ACC schedule format. So I think the fans are actually super excited that it's here.
Yeah, and NC State's also having quarterback issues too. I mean, they started off the year with Brennan Armstrong, and then they replaced him with Morris. And Brennan came out for a couple of snaps last week and was getting booed by the fans. And then I think he even like had a missed handoff or something like that. There was a fumble. So it's not great for the Wolfpack right now either. I think getting on the other side of this is a good call. I like that Duke play. Did I see?
Absolutely.
Did you have one more play, Colby? Did you have a play in that Auburn game?
Do we want to talk about Auburn? We got time.
I mean, I'm always look. We yeah, sure. And look, Auburn LSU.
We haven't been hitting our college picks. Last week was a rough week, so we need you to bring on a bunch of picks to get us back on track.
well, this one I'm like a little bit concerned of, like, because the number makes no sense to me. This is a rivalry that is insane. If you this is one where I can't believe the SEC is thinking about going to an 8-game schedule format for the whole future, because with 16 teams, the fact we wouldn't get this every year, this is one of my favorite games to watch every year. Like of the past, I think 7 games, only one of them has been by around this, by more than the spread. And that was in the COVID year with no fans when Auburn won 48-11. You look at the other matchups dating back to 2016. Auburn wins by 5. LSU wins by 4. LSU wins by 1. LSU wins by 3. Auburn wins by 4. LSU wins by 4 last year. And those 2 of those years were the Brian Harsin years. So like,
right.
I just, and Auburn's coming off a bye after playing Georgia. So they get a bye coming into the game, or meanwhile LSU's kind of going through the gauntlet of they lost at Ole Miss, they almost lost at Mizzou, they come home. Like, I understand Auburn has had problems passing the football, and that's the weakness for LSU is the secondary. So I understand maybe that's where the line moved up a little bit, but I think it's insane. I will take the points 100 out of 100 times in these games just because you're getting more than a touchdown in a heated rivalry game. And knowing that it's not going to be there every single year is even more of the reason I think you want to jump on Auburn in the points.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can trust LSU as a double-digit favorite right now with how bad that defense has been.
No. I'm fully on board with that. I feel like I've been so let down by LSU this year that I don't trust them a double digit with anyone who's an SEC opponent at this point. For sure. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X, and wherever you get your podcasts. Stefan, how do we want to do this? We got 3 of us. We're going to step on each other's toes, or you just you want to run us down the list of picks, or I can do that. Well, this is for the quick hitters on TikTok.
Yeah, let's just each give our plays for the weekend. I'll start, and then Colby, and then Eric. So I'm going to go with Texas A&M and Tennessee under 55.5. I'm also going to take the under in UCLA at Oregon State. My final play is Florida State minus 18.5 at home versus Syracuse. Colby, what you got?
I got Oregon State minus the points. I think it's 4 against the UCLA Bruins. That is my favorite play of the day. But also, second would be Wyoming plus the points in Colorado Springs against the Air Force Falcons. Third would be give me Notre Dame minus the 2.5 against USC, and then BYU plus the points. But I like taking the money line of BYU as well. And then finally, Auburn plus 11.
Love it.
That's awesome for this week. Excuse me. I got Boise State in the second half minus 5 versus Colorado State. I'm then also, we're going to double down with Colby on the Wyoming pick. I think we're going to go ahead and have our show on 2 units on that. And then I got Duke minus 3 versus North Carolina State. And that is what we got for college football. Do not forget to go check out our soccer picks from this week. I think we're wrapping up our action, but we'll have more back from you next week. This is my last reminder for the show that Stefan is lighting it up, 22-5, up 12.5 units on soccer. I just had to plug him. I don't think I was doing that. I don't care. We're lighting it up on soccer, but let's go. Let's go win some money on football.
See y'all. Thanks again, Colby.
Anytime, guys. Thank you. And I gotta start tailing these soccer picks, man.
Yeah, man. It's so much fun. Right?